Welcome to the Aesthetics Injector Gang podcast. Having a gang of mentors in this industry has been a blessing that we wanted to share with you. Our core group has been traveling together and comparing notes about life and business for years. Tune in as we delve into topics with others in the industry that you are sure to love and make you laugh.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Aesthetics Injector Gang. I am joined by someone who has helped me so much in life and in business. I will let him introduce himself, but he is part of an amazing law group that has really helped me build Empower Aesthetics and Wellness, and that's pretty much the premise of this podcast. So without further ado, I will let you introduce yourself, sir.
Thank you so much. Glad to hear I helped you in life as well, and not just professionally.
Absolutely.
So obviously I am Justin Marti with Marti Law Group, and we are a boutique healthcare firm, transactional. So I don't litigate. We're a law firm. I don't litigate. We do the boring transactional stuff, trying to keep people out of litigation and out of trouble. Lots of contracts, but all healthcare specific. And even within healthcare, it's really limited to a few verticals, aesthetics being one of them. A lot of work in dentistry, vet, optometry. But I will tell you that medical aesthetics have dominated our business over the past couple of years. And so then we got to meet fine people such as yourself and kind of help you launch what you've launched.
Absolutely. And I think, the one thing that drew me first to you guys was meeting at Aesthetic Next, but you guys had really nice tote bags. I still have that tote bag. I use it quite frequently.
We have more if you need. So starting to, fall apart at all, we've got you.
No, but one thing that I loved about Justin and his team is whenever I first came up to him and started talking to him, I think it was like 3 years ago at Aesthetic Next, and you guys had a booth. And I just really loved how you're a normal human. You're not like a lawyer robot that floods a conversation with "be it as it may" and "therefore art thou too." Like, you're not like an encyclopedia that just like puts extra words in an email to like add billable hours. You're like a cool dude. That's what I really appreciate about you.
Thank you. Well, that's like intentional. I think we try to be, it's funny, man. And I can go into obviously my background in a bit, but I have such a complex of like, I'm not a lawyer. Like, I'm just like, we're not that. We're like business advisors, and we happen to practice law. And I think it's okay to be like a normal human and, not robotic, which you hit it on the head, because I think the business of law is very antiquated and weird, and like it doesn't always align with what the client wants, right? Billable hours, and it's definitely not an easy gig. And I think the business model of it's a little wacky, but truly that was my goal, is like, all right, if we're gonna really start a practice and make this like our life's work, it's really got to be intentional to be different and like refreshing. And so I think that's one thing that's really cool to hear that we do get from our clients. They're like, I can get a hold of you guys and actually understand what you're saying. Like, you're normal people. And so yeah, I think it's always refreshing to hear that.
Absolutely. I've worked with people. I feel like I have to take the email, put it in ChatGPT and be like, can you like de-lawyerize this for me? Because I don't know what the hell he's trying to say.
Right.
So right. I love that about you. And speaking to your background, I think you have a very unique background for being a lawyer. So talk a little bit about like what led you to the path of opening up Marti Law Group and working kind of specifically now with healthcare practices, specifically aesthetics and dental.
Yeah, so it is, I think, probably a pretty unique background for most lawyers. So if we go back, I'm going to date myself a bit here, but about 2006, you might have been like in diapers, but I started a DSO, a dental support organization. So basically like an MSO for folks who are familiar, but in the dental space. But in 2006, I did not know what a DSO was. I was approached by a dentist who was a client. I was in a sales role in Boston. And he's like, hey, man, I have one kind of rinky-dink dental location. I want to open more. And I just had the entrepreneurial bug at 20, whatever I was. So quit the day job and started opening dental offices, knowing like almost nothing. And so Turns out that's called a DSO or an MSO. And so we scaled that up to a number of locations across the Northeast. I mean, you name it. Like, I started off building IKEA, terrible like cabinets that fell off the walls within like 2 weeks. I was working the front desk, trying to, work on my Spanish because of, bilingual clientele. Like, you name it, like, we really cut our teeth on it. But it was a cool journey as I look back. So we got to about 45 locations over like a 12-year span, and we exited that. We sold that in a PE deal, a private equity deal. And for some reason, I was going to law school at night because I'm a nerd, and I figured, why not? No plan on practicing. I was in law school. Like, I'm not like you people. I'm like, I'm cool. Like, I'm not an attorney. Like, I don't wear a suit. But I wanted to learn kind of a different way of thinking. But it was very ironic. I graduated about the same time we sold. So right away, I had providers, dentists calling me who would work for us. Like, hey, I want to buy a practice. I want to sell. You just went through this. Help me out. And so it kind of just like worlds colliding. And, it made sense to start practicing mergers and acquisitions really in dental. And then that expanded into some other areas, again, med aesthetics being one of them. And then in the med spa world, obviously compliance is so big, and it's the Wild West, right? Every state is so drastically different, that we started diving into that. So the journey from operator to, firm owner, I mean, I think we get a lot of buy-in because we work with clients who I'm like, hey, I've been in your shoes. Like, I'm not a clinician, but like, I've literally had to worry about making payroll. We still do, right? We have a law firm. We have to worry about that. We have to worry about, supply costs and all these things that I think most lawyers probably have not had to do. So I think we get a lot of strong relationships that way. And it is cool because a lot of times I can wear my business hat, right? My entrepreneur hat, as well as the legal. And it's not just like, let me tell you all the horrible things that are going to get you sued, but like, let's also talk about how to grow a successful business.
I love that. And so when you applied to law school, I can just see you like, did you like write a nice letter like Elle Woods and like sent it with cologne? Like, how did you get into Harvard?
It definitely was not Harvard. It was like, like Joe Schmo Law School who will take you at night because you have a decent resume. I'm not, test taking the LSATs. I blacked out. I don't know what happened. The bar exam, I'm not sure. Somehow I got through. But yeah, I was going to get an MBA. It was really where it started. And it was just something I wanted to do. And actually at the time, my business partner was kind of like, you don't need an MBA. You're doing MBA. You're doing this, job every day and getting a real MBA here, kind of out here on the streets. And right. So I don't know. I guess I have this love-hate with higher education. And I was like, well, I want to do something because I'm like 30 and I'm making money and I'm just blowing it all. And so what can we actually do to be productive here? And that's when this idea of the JD, the law degree, popped in. So yeah, man, I'm still every day. I'm like, we have a law firm. Like, we're actually doing this. And it's kind of crazy because we've gotten, pretty well established in the med spa world. And yet I still have this complex of like, we're different than everyone else, but it's also intentional.
And that's your humility. That's what I love about you as well. I mean, I say the same thing. I have terrible imposter syndrome. I'm looking at my logo now and I'm like, oh, that's mine.
You drive by your billboard on the side of the road.
Exactly. And as we speak, my car, so I got a new Hyundai Santa Fe. Total tangent, but this is what's happening today. So I got a new Hyundai Santa Fe. Long story, but I hate the back end of it. It's so ugly. It's flat. It's like a big box truck. So I'm looking at it one day and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to wrap the back of it. It's going to be ugly. I may as well just take the badging off. So I'm getting my logo, a QR code, a name. So hopefully by 5 p.m. Eastern today, it'll be a rockin' mobile billboard.
I want pictures. I want to see it.
Oh, it's going to happen. I'm excited, but taking life and making a lemon out of lemonade. So
do it.
Or lemonade out of a lemon, whatever. But no, awesome. So you guys have been in med, and that's what I love too, is that you niche in aesthetics. You're not like everybody else that's like, I'll just get on the bandwagon because it's cool and hot. Like, you're very needed in this industry because the regulations, as you alluded to, are ever changing. I feel like it's, I don't know, it's up there with like what's changing more, like the regulations or GLP rules and regulations. Like they're like neck and neck for the rules of who can own a med spa, who can operate, who can function legally, who can inject, who can't inject, who can touch a laser, who can't touch a laser. Like, I don't know how you guys keep it together. I imagine there's like a light bright of each state with like color coding things or like strings with notes and pins that like only you guys can decode.
Right. There's lots of flow charts for sure and decision trees. Julia Cantu, who's an attorney in our office, has been like absolutely fantastic. And she has helped us to drive. I mean, we have our 50 state analysis internally, right, of regulations and who can do what. And as you know, it changes every day. So we're constantly like the whole team. We actually just brought on an intern who's going to, I think she's a year from being an attorney, like brilliant in California. We're just all constantly in this document and this sheet updating regulations. I mean, Julia was to the extent with GLP-1s where she was in the courthouse as, these lawsuits are being filed and, truly just living it. So it's a lot. It definitely is a lot. We have a pretty well built out team. And, by the way, in addition to all that research, we have to do the legal work. People come to us too. So, it is cool though, because like you said, I mean, we were early-ish to this space, right? We've been doing it a few years. So we weren't here 20 years ago when aesthetics may really have been kind of coming on the map. But we got introduced to it by one of our colleagues in the dental world and some kind of fractional advisors. And we were like, there's such a need here, and like you said, you'll get law firms that are like, oh yeah, we did a med spa thing once, in 22. We do this every day, all day. So we're constantly working with practice owners and helping them decode who can own that. Can you even own this thing? And if you can't, because of your licensure or lack thereof, like let's put a structure together, right, where you can kind of operate and feel like an owner. And have the benefits of an owner. And then, okay, now who can you hire to do what, and who can shoot the laser and who needs training? So we like I said, we live it every day. And I think that's truly to do this right. I think you have to. I can't imagine the law firms that are like, today I have to be in court to do a, litigation. Tomorrow there's a, car accident thing. And today I'm like, we just all day, every day are in this world. And I don't know how you could, do more than that.
And I know that you're busy because I know that you're not on TikTok pretending that you're like a personal injury lawyer, like, some cheesy thing with like a, weird ghetto suitcase, like trying to flag people down that might be in car accidents.
My staff wanted us to get on the TikTok train. I just couldn't do it. But maybe that's, just I'm getting older now and I couldn't log into it. And so, as in past endeavors, I have some technical difficulties with the technology these days.
Well, that's probably the lowest rating that you got is your inability to like use a Google Suite. And if that is your worst quality, then I think you're doing okay.
Thank you.
Hey, AIG crew, let's face it, running a med spa is way more than just injections. You're juggling marketing, compliance, pricing, inventory, charting, and still trying to grow. That's why Moxie is a game changer. One platform for marketing, compliance, coaching, software, and VIP pricing on injectables and supplies, up to 55% off. Ditch the guesswork and 5 different tools. Earn more, save more, and free up your time. AIG listeners get $500 off their launch fee at joinmoxie, moxie.com/AIG. We'll have the link in the show notes for you. Back to the podcast. I really wanted to also just boast and brag a little bit about you because of the way that you've been able to help me. So, it's been, 5 years since I've been in aesthetics for, I'd say, full time. What people didn't know while I was being more of a practice manager was that I was injecting when I was not traveling back and forth. So I was like injecting, low key in Pennsylvania, but my primary focus was more of the business aspect. So, every once in a while I'd have that pie in the sky, like I'm going to do my own med spa thing, like at home. And, understanding high level, the amount of work that goes into starting a practice, especially in the state of Pennsylvania as a registered nurse, I'm like, oh, you have to have a medical director own it. And if I can't own it, and if I can't, do my own GFEs, blah, blah, like it's going to be too much. And I remember that you guys put out one document. I think you call it the Med Spa Mastery Report.
That's right.
And I think you guys distributed that. And I was like, I don't know why you're not charging people for this. This is gold. I love it. And you had like one like Visio diagram of like the breakdown between like what an MSO does and what the aesthetic entity does. And for me, I'm a very visual learner. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's how it works. Like it finally made sense. And like that document right there literally was like put a little spark in my brain that said, you know what, this could be possible. So I don't know who created that, if it was you or your whole team, whatever, but like bravo, because
Thank
it
you.
really helped me to understand how things can work, especially in a CPOM or a corporate practice in medicine state.
That's right. Yeah, no, thank you for that. Your journey was really cool to be a part of. And it's the hardest part of probably our gig is explaining to people like, hey, you're in this state, you're an RN or, an LPN, like you're not able to own what you want to own, like can't go hang a shingle and say, hey, I'm a med spa. Plenty of folks do. And then they have to unfortunately learn the hard way if there's ever an investigation. But this MSO model is very ambiguous, the management service organization model. The visual is super helpful that I still am tweaking it all the time and trying to make it more palatable for people. But once you kind of figure out the funds flow and how things can go, it's like, no, you can, build your dream and make it come true and have a bunch of locations and sell it for, millions of dollars someday. It's just, you want to build the foundation correctly. And that was one of the cool things we found is like, people just didn't have that guidance. And they would work with, not to speak poorly about other attorneys, but like, they're like, no, I work with an attorney and he looked up the thing and he said it's fine. And so we would have to come in and be like, all right, you have $1 million med spa. That's fantastic. Unfortunately, we have to break the model and build it the right way. But it's worked out because then when folks have gone to sell, they've been like better, well positioned, and they're not getting dinged because, by the way, you're not compliant.
Absolutely. And I think, going to conferences for the past, 5 years, and people constantly express that like concern or fear that like, can I do this? Can this person do this? Am I operating legally? Like, yeah, you may be operating. It might not be 100%, but I think that even if you may have been in error up until current, operating in a way that, you just didn't realize was not the correct way.
Right.
There's still an avenue where you can kind of, rectify the sins of the past and start going anew, right?
That's exactly it. It's like we can right the ship, you don't have to shut down, and people call us freaking out because they got a letter from a board in whatever state they're in. We work across the country, so we've seen it all. And that's exactly the first step is like, let's take a breath. Let's figure out, what's your role or licensure? What can you actually do? Let's put a plan together. Oftentimes do we know a physician? Okay, great. You've got a medical director or a nurse practitioner or a PA in many cases. And now we have to kind of structure around these folks. And it's cool because we can build it and they can keep operating and be really successful. But there is that moment, I think, where people freak out when they get some kind of letter and they're like, what do you mean I'm not able to own this thing that I poured my heart and soul into to build?
Absolutely. And I think that the one thing that like gives me peace of mind is knowing like I started 100% correct. Like I listened to everything that you guys said. I did all the things, you opened the entities and all the things, but you guys made it so easy and I don't have to worry about that piece of it. I have all kinds of other things to worry about, but this, like, I can just seal it up and put it in the back. But, the thing that I love about your group too, is that you guys have a great membership model, which, I mean, memberships and aesthetics are amazing, but like memberships with a law firm, you're like, who wants to like engage with their lawyer like all the time?
Right.
But you guys have made it like an awesome opportunity for people that, you know, for instance, in maybe this predicament, and they're kind of like restructuring the way that they operate and function. Like, you're there for more than just like a couple of meetings and phone calls. You can be there monthly. So do you want to talk about your membership a little bit?
I'd love to. Yeah. And thank you. It's definitely, again, it's us trying to break the model of what kind of sucks about a legal engagement, you know, and like you said, who wants to talk to the lawyer every month? The fun part for us is I think we do get to wear more of that business advisory hat. Again, maybe pulling from operational background, my experience just as an operator and working through issues that come up, but with an eye towards legal, you know, and thinking like, this is a great plan. We need to tweak it because there's some exposure here. So how do we achieve what you want, but still like, let's keep you compliant and out of trouble. And so that's the whole idea with membership. We do, you know, that we have a little bit of hourly billing. We don't do a whole lot of it. Sometimes clients just ask for it. They want to just, you know, hey, give me 2 hours to research this thing. And so we do that. But usually it's under protest because I like to do work either flat fee or under membership. Flat fee is pretty straightforward. So, you know, you need an MSO, you need a couple of contracts, we bundle it, we come up with a fee. Again, I think it aligns the incentives of the client and the attorney because hourly billing, right? Like I've used attorneys, I get the bill and I'm like, what did I pay 3 hours for you to look up this thing for? And that's super frustrating. So as a client, so I think the membership's been great. It's allowed us every month. We're talking to folks like as they're scaling a spa or multiple locations. We're looking at everything, you know, your consent forms, your protocols, your procedures. Okay, you're hired a new person. Let's look at the employment agreement. The phone's ringing because someone wants to buy your practice. Let's go through that. So it's really cool to be part of the whole life cycle with the client. And we've just, I mean, we've had our clients or our members are like the greatest. You know, they also get access to a portal. So state regulations, whenever changes come, I'm like, guys, go to the portal, you know, look at the regulations, everything. I'm like neurotic. So everything's cited to like, hey, this new regulation came out and the board said this. So it's just meant to be like much more. Obviously, there's memberships out there. There's associations. Sometimes I felt like it's a little bit light in the information that's provided. So we go deep. We probably give away too much time than we're supposed to members, but it's been great. And it's rewarding because they're like, like you say, you know, thank God I have you guys on speed dial. If something comes up, we're available. So we try not to do too much lawyering and lecturing. It's more, you know, collaborative and how do we kind of help you get to that next level?
Absolutely. And I think it's greatly appreciated because I think probably, I would assume, a big barrier to people reaching out is fear, right? Like fear of retribution from doing something wrong or that they've done wrong, and they think or just, you know, assume that there's no hope and they just have to keep on keeping on. But I don't know, you guys just make it so easy to like take that fear and just chop it away. And
thank you.
I don't know. I really appreciate it because you know, you can only Google so much to be dangerous, especially about legal things. And it's not, you know, you can't figure this all out on ChatGPT. You need a Marty Law Group in your back pocket for sure.
I appreciate it, man. And there's definitely no shortage of people trying to ChatGPT it. I often get contracts that, you know, someone pulled off a chat and I'm like, okay, let's just not show this to anyone. We'll help you fix it. And listen, we all use it for different things here and there. You know, I'm usually on chat, like, how do I make a banana bread so my wife is impressed? It's like, buy it at the store because you're not going to figure this out. But, you know, people are using it for legal documents and it's you just got to be careful because you're not always going to get very state specific stuff that you need. So yeah, I think the tech that we're seeing is great, but you know, it's kind of good to have a lawyer on speed dial.
Absolutely. And I know that you don't have a crystal ball, but you know, there's been, I think besides the GLP debacle, which we're not going to beat a dead horse and talk about that, you know, with the legality of like ownership and medical oversight has been, I think, more of a hot topic lately, especially with that one case where someone received an IV in Texas and passed away, unfortunately. You know, is there anything in your purview that you can share in a high level about just MD oversight and any changes down the road? I mean, in my personal opinion, being an RN and having an MD that is not 100% on site, but available and accessible, you know, that's something I think about. Like, if there's a change in that, I'm going to have to change the way that I practice. So, you know, anything that you've heard in the looms of that?
It's a great question. And so short answer is yes, you know, and across the country, we're seeing, so obviously that happened in Texas, right? That case. And there was some pretty major changes proposed. And I mean, we have a lot of clients in Texas, so there were a lot of folks who are up in arms. There was a lot of lobbying that went on. You know, it seems like, now Julia would probably like scold me for not citing properly, but my understanding is that it's more limited to IV hydration at this point. But there's still talk of, you know, is it applying to a larger aesthetic space? But we're seeing the same thing. I mean, you know, from one of the biggest states to the small state, Rhode Island, you know, really hard changes, drastic changes coming. Just, you know, like I said, we're in every state essentially. So we see kind of all these proposed legislations. Now, slowly they are, there's a big focus on IV hydration for sure. So for folks who have IV hydration as part of their practice, really important to keep abreast of what's going on, because there's a big concern. You know, there was that death that you spoke about. You know, there's actually unfortunately been some other stuff that's had some pretty adverse consequences. So there is certainly a movement, and I think you hit it on the head with having physician involvement or medical direction or clinical direction. You know, if you're in an independent practice state for nurse practitioners and you have an NP who's kind of your clinical director, fantastic. But please make sure they're involved, right? And that they're actually, I call it like a doc in a box, right? There's different services that are available that can kind of sync you with a provider, but, you know, there should be chart reviews going on, you know, and it depends on their state, how often, and in certain cases, does the doc have to be on site or within a certain mileage? But these are the things you want to be intimately familiar with, because there are a lot of clients we have that we know that their business model could get really shaken up. You know, it did because of GLP-1s changing. And now, again, they're like, now I have to have a doctor here all day, you know, so we try to stay ahead of all of it. But I think it's really, really important that people work with physicians or NPs or whomever the oversight, you know, provider is, that they know, that they trust, that has training in the space. You know, every now and then we get a client who's like, you know, my proctologist said that, you know, he's going to be able to oversee this. And I'm like, you know, like, have him do some training first, because he's good at some things, but other things we want to make sure he knows how to oversee this. So yeah, that's really, like you said, the GLP-1 focus was a focus for a really long time, and it's still kind of lingering on, and what's going to happen, what's happening. But now it seems to be this big shift towards proper oversight, and states are really going hard. I mean, again, I'm in Connecticut, and we have clients now sending us letters, and they're like, "Hey, I got this thing. What does this mean?" And you know, we have to take it all pretty seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I know that you have a ton of things on your plate. I'm glad that we could carve out a little bit of time so that we can share your knowledge and bring some awareness to some other folks in the space. So if people have questions like this that they need to get some proper advice about, how can they get a hold of you?
So our website's great, Marti Law Group, all spelled out, MARTI, lawgroup.com. We're on there. You can find us pretty active on social. You know, I set up our social handle years ago, so it's @_Marti Law Group. You can imagine, because I messed up the @Marti Law Group. So someone somewhere out there has that. So Instagram is @_Marti Law Group. But certainly, you know, we're available. We do a lot of the show scene that you do as well, and speaking. And so encourage people to always come find us. But certainly, you know, start there on the website, or send an email, Justin @Marti Law Group. Ask Brandon for my personal cell. He'll give you way too much information on me, and then
100%.
I won't be left alone. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. And you know my spiel, I'm B_aesthetic consultant. on Instagram, and everything else is a link away from there. So thank you again, Justin. I really appreciate your time. And I can't wait to catch you physically in the next conference that we're going to. Probably Aesthetic Next, right?
That's it. I think so. So thank you, Brandon.
All right. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and comment. Follow us on Instagram at The Aesthetics Injector Gang.